Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of The Hard Count. I'm Michael Emami, and I recently had a terrific interview with Mary Institute and St. Louis Country Day School's linebacker Jack Hayes. Hayes is a member of the 2022 class and currently stands at 6 foot 3 inches and 180 pounds. Hayes is beginning his senior year with MICDS as his team recently defeated St. Louis University High School Week 1 and will look to try and make it back to the state title game this year. Hayes and I had a great conversation about his journey back to playing football and a favorite team of his at the end, as well as more on this episode. And apologies, folks, for the lack of highlights there in the beginning of the episode. Jack's huddle was not cooperating with him and it was a bit difficult technologically, so just hope you enjoy the conversation. We had a lot of fun on this episode, and it should be great. All right, everybody, here is Jack Hayes. Enjoy. I know you guys had a great season last year. What's kind of the goal going into this season for you as an athlete coming off that good junior year that you guys had?
Well, I would say the first thing is, I think we've all got our mindset on a state championship. Obviously, we lost, I think it was 17 seniors, so a lot of the workload's gone, but we're bringing in a lot of young guys that can make an impact. And I think a lot of people are doubting us a little bit. Rightfully so. We lost a lot of people, but I think we've got a really good group of seniors and juniors and some other younger kids, and I think we can make a run at state again.
Okay, yeah, and so how about Coach Bouchard? He goes from his first year within the program, he gets you guys to the state title game against Elias. As you said, unfortunately, you do lose that game in Middle Missouri. I think that was played at Jefferson City High School. Unfortunately, you guys do lose that game. It was a very tight game, and I know there was a lot of hard-fought battle going on there, a lot of media attention for you guys and Elias as well. But what was kind of the experience like for you playing in that game as a junior going into your senior year?
So I played my freshman year. I was on JV. I actually quit my sophomore year, and I came back this year. And I'd never played in any game like that. Obviously, I would say the closest game up to that point that we had with a crowd like that was Hannibal. But just running out in the field, seeing all those people in such a game, it was a crazy feeling. I was pretty nervous before kickoff, but once we got underway, it kind of settled in. And Coach Bouchard did a great job kind of talking to us before the game. A lot of the older guys had experience in the 2018 state game, but a decent amount of the team, was pretty new to it. And obviously he'd been there many times before. But yeah, Coach, his football mind is off the charts. So it's pretty reassuring going into a game like that with a coach like Bouchard, because you just know he's going to have the right stuff.
Yeah, I certainly believe that he's got the program headed in the right direction. As I said, just off of his first year, he gets you guys into the state title game. Now, I know that you had told me that you had quit sophomore year. What kind of brought you back to football your junior year of high school?
The majority of my friends were playing, but I gave it a little bit of a thought, and it was, football workouts in the summer were well underway, and I wasn't playing. I was actually playing golf with my buddy, and I just got a call or a text from Coach Bouchard. One of the guys had given him my number, and he was like, "Hey, just come swing by practice. Run around for a little bit, see how you feel. If you're interested, you can play." I was like, "Okay, sure, I'll try." And just after the first practice, I fell in love with it and just kind of took off from there.
Yeah, and I understand that you play baseball as well, and you guys had a pretty good year last year, this past spring as well. What's it kind of like balancing those two sports?
I enjoy it, and it was kind of the same way in baseball. We also had a new head coach coming in, which was somewhat similar to football, Coach Bouchard. But as far as the workouts go, obviously COVID, it was a little different last year. For football, we were kind of working out outside, more bodyweight stuff, just because we weren't allowed to be in the weight room. But ever since things have kind of opened up a bit, we've got a weight room. Every time we go in the weight room, we're working out with baseball guys come in. The soccer guys are on a similar program as well as basketball. So now we're all kind of on the same page, and it's working pretty well.
Now, I wanted to ask you in terms of MICDS, because I know the academic rigor there is very difficult and it's very tough, having gone there myself. So I want to know, how do you go about balancing kind of the sports life and academic rigor of that school?
Well, I would say, I think the best thing the thing I always go by is school comes first. Always putting school first. And I think the coaches do a great job of giving you leeway. They're not going to get mad if you say, "Hey, coach, I might be 30 minutes late to practice. I'm meeting with the teacher," or I'm retaking a test after school, something like that. I would just say I always put school first. Sometimes you have some late nights coming home from practice, especially when, after a long practice. But yeah, the coaches do a great job in just the school in general as far as like balancing school workload and sports, because they're very open to, letting you get your academic work done first.
Okay. And so if a college or program is going to take you, what's kind of the first thing that you would want them to know about you as both, your character, you as a person and as an athlete as well?
I would say, I'm very eager to learn. I really enjoy just kind of like talking about football, being around the game. I mean, that's probably the first thing I would say, but also being around all the guys. I love kind of like that synergy, and especially at least in our program, that's something I really value. I would love to do that at the next level.
Okay, yeah. And so tell me about your family life. How have your parents kind of influenced you?
Well, as far as football, my mom was kind of hesitant with me coming back to football, just, purely based off injury related issues. But I mean, after kind of like seeing me play in the first couple of games, she was like, yeah, I think this is a great decision. With the state run, she said it was awesome. It was a bunch of fun, as it was to the kids as well. But yeah, very supportive and very helpful.
What's kind of the coolest thing about you that you would want the world to know?
I played my first snap. I mean, with COVID, obviously everything got pushed back as well. So, I mean, my first game was in late or mid-October, and 3 months later, I was playing in a state championship game. So, I mean, you can really just kind of get thrown out there and find your way. We've got a couple guys like that coming onto our team this year that I'm pretty excited for. A bunch of good athletes that quit in the past, but we convinced to come back, and they're kind of playing their first snaps since like 7th and 8th grade, but I think they're going to be really good.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. That storyline I just find kind of interesting because I just keep thinking of David Freese, because that's his storyline where he quit baseball because he fell out of love with it, and then he comes back in a short period of time and then is in the major leagues, and the next thing you know, he's hitting the game-tying triple in the World Series and then walking off in Game 6 and then is the hero in that whole World Series and getting the ring in 2011. So that's just what I think about when something like that comes to mind. It's just an incredible storyline.
Yeah, and I think Coach Bouchard did a wonderful job as far as just getting guys to come back. We had, guys like Ben Brooks, who ended up being a starting linebacker for us, Cam Curry, another linebacker, Deshaun Sutton. All three of them came back for their senior year and ended up being starters and big playmakers. We've got a bunch of guys like that this year. But the one thing he always preaches, which has worked out very well, is don't recruit a good football player. He always tells us to get people to play and to talk to them about playing. But he says, find a person that would be a good teammate. He said he'd rather have them be a great teammate and a bad player than a great player and a bad teammate. And that's proven to be pretty successful for us.
Yeah, definitely builds a good culture there at MICDS's football program, that's for sure. Now, this is going to be the hardest question that I'm ever going to ask you. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. Take some time to really think about this, because this could have very, very big implications in your future. You ready for this?
Yep.
All right, here we go. If you were to get drafted by an NFL team, what would be your preferred team you'd want to get drafted by?
Oh, this is a big one. Well, considering, and I'll say this first, I have friends that can vouch for me. I've got old jerseys. I'm a Cleveland Browns fan through the thick and thin.
Oh, my God.
From the 1-15, the 0-16, I've still got my Josh Gordon jersey. And, I couldn't say anywhere else but Cleveland.
Have you been depressed the past several 10 years and now things have turned around?
Well, I was a Rams fan up until they left, but right from then I jumped on the Browns. Can't even say bandwagon, but I started being a Browns fan. It was sad at first, but you could see the draft picks piling up and there was talent accumulating, and now we look pretty good.
I wouldn't consider you a bandwagon if you're willing to watch a 1-15, 0-16 team. I mean, that's just not.
Thank you.
I mean,
you can only go up.
Yeah, you can. And that's the thing that I find funny about all this is because, now you guys have Baker Mayfield. Now you guys have that elite offense. And I think Kareem Hunt is still there. But to me, it's just hilarious because everybody says when the Rams left, if you became a Browns fan, you became a bandwagon. Most people forget at that 2016-2017 season, that was not a good couple of years for them at all by any stretch of the mind. So you are definitely a diehard fan I'd consider you as, because if you're willing to endure that, I'd say that you're you've been initiated into that fan base.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, hey, thanks so much for coming on, Jack. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This is awesome.
All right. No problem. You have a good one.
You too.
All right, everybody. That was Jack Hayes out of MICDS. If you'd like to contact Jack, his Twitter account is @Jack7Hayes. I'll be sure to post his information below as well. And his Twitter account's is spelled @JACK7HAYES. If you'd like to contact me, my Twitter account is @ImamiMichael. Both my Facebook and Instagram are @TheHardCount with Michael Emami. Snapchat is @MichaelEmami. Got a lot of new follows and ads and subscriptions on that as well. Appreciate all of the interaction there, as the profile is now public and it's been public for a little bit. If you'd like to subscribe to the YouTube channel, I'd really appreciate that, and hit the bell at the top right-hand corner, so that way you will never miss a video on there, and you can watch and see every single athlete that I interview when they come out and when they're released. All right, everybody, thanks so much for tuning in and checking this episode out, and special thanks to Jack for coming on. Had a lot of fun talking with him on this episode. All right, everybody, this has been The Hard Count. Do you have what it takes to go to one?